Now is the time for our really esteemed guest. Her name is Ruth Weiss. She is from the Election Integrity Project, California. She is making impact all across the state. She's co-founder. She's really has a heart for ensuring that we have fair elections. You know, we have so much to learn from her. We've talked about so many different things. I did a pre-interview with her. We did a pre-interview. We did discuss a lot of different topics, but one of the hottest topics is how can people get involved? How do we ensure that there are poll watchers, there are poll observers, and how can we make sure that every vote counts, that every vote matters, that the integrity of the system is strong. When there's strong integrity as a system, people will turn out and vote. It's when people feel like their vote doesn't count that people sit back and are discouraged. And look what we have. We had a very low turnout in the midterm. So Ruth is being that part of that solution. She's really working hard. Doesn't matter, again, if you're DR, independent, libertarian, being a part of the process, being a part of the solution, and ensuring the integrity of the vote is strong, it matters. And you can make impact. As a matter of fact, Ruth talks about, in the interview, Ruth talks about the impact of one person, a person who decided to get involved, saw something that wasn't going right, and here's what Ruth had to say.
Ballot, but many of them were simply turned away. So they were being disenfranchised. This one individual knew this was wrong because she'd been trained. She knew what to look for. She knew what was right. She knew what was wrong. And she also knew what to do about it because of our training, and she contacted us. We were able to go up the chain of command through our legal connections, and about midday, the registrar of voters up there was required to put out a big media release saying, oh dear, there are some things wrong. If you tried to vote and were turned away, you can go back and vote. You have a right to vote, which never would have happened if this one person hadn't seen it, reported it, and made it go statewide. So it's very exciting to know that even one person can make such an enormous difference. And the rest of that day then, the polls in Los Angeles were straightened out. People showed up to vote. They were not turned away. It makes a very big difference just to have one set of eyes out there. Now imagine if we have hundreds of sets of eyes out there all over the state. We will make changes at the moment that these infractions occur, and we protect votes, we protect voters, just because we have educated some citizens as to what to look for and what to do when they see it.
Right, right. It's vital, and education, I believe, is key. You know, you talk about the power of one, you talk about, you know, the impact we can make, just one person and playing a role in our own community. We don't have to go far. You know, there are polling stations in each community. Mine is just a mile and a half or 2 miles down the road. And it is so important, and not everybody is educated and about poll work. I mean, I'll tell you my situation. I was in the 2016 elections. I faced a situation where I went to go vote, and my ballot was already filled out. Literally. And it was frustrating because it was filled out for the person that I was going to vote for, which was President Donald Trump. It doesn't matter who it was. It was filled out for the person I was going to vote for. It was filled out improperly, as a matter of fact. It was crossed apart, like crossed. And it's supposed to be one straight line. So I went over and I spoke to the individual working the poll station. And you are correct. Many of the poll workers are ill-educated as to what needs to be done next. And it was frustrating for me as a voter because I felt like the system, the entire system, was compromised. Why did I get a ballot that was filled out? And sure, I got a new ballot, and sure, I went through this entire process. But, you know, citizens, they need to have security knowing that the system is strong, there's a process that needs to be followed, and that people handling the materials are well trained and educated in what needs to take place next. And that's kind of where you're helping out, right? Is you're an independent organization and you train individuals who want to either be poll workers or go and observe, correct? Because that's one of the components that you were mentioning in one of the trainings that I went to, was that basically I could go do a poll worker position and be an observer, or I could just go and observe. And Ruth, I feel like, when you talk about this LA system where there are so many people who are overvoting, the integrity of the process is weak, people just don't have that security, and then they feel like their vote doesn't matter, and then what's the point of even voting? And then it ends up with people on the couch.
Well, you've made a lot of very important points there, Erin. And I hear the frustration in your voice as a California voter.
Yes, yes, we need solutions. We need you.
We need to be able to trust our system.
Yes.
That even the Supreme Court said, look, if people don't trust the system, then they're not going to participate in it. And you've heard lots of things coming from the powers that be in California saying, oh my goodness, we don't have enough voter participation. We have to do everything we can to get more people to go out to vote. And they are coming up with all these crazy schemes when the only scheme they need to come up with is to do something to make people feel that their vote counts, that it's protected, and that it's not, diluted by someone who shouldn't be voting. All these very, very common sense things that rather than doing that, they're doing all these really crazy things with their laws. What is important about what we're doing is that we are educating people to go out to the polls. We are also, through our website and through our emails, we are educating voters who may not become observers for us. But anytime you're in a polling place, anytime you're at the registrar of voters, anytime you're doing anything involved with the electoral process, you can be an observer. You're a citizen. You have that right. And when you know what you should be experiencing and you're seeing something that doesn't look right, the next thing that you know through our education is what to do about it, how to report it, how to get it stopped. And so we urge people to be on our email list. We urge people to go to our website often. There's all kinds of really great voter information there. We have been working with the county officials since 2012, trying to get the poll worker education better. In some counties it has become very, very good. In other counties it's really abysmal. And the poll workers are great heroes. They're out there doing a very difficult, exhausting job. And they do want to do their very best. They're out there because, like you and me, they have a sense of public service and they want a fair and honest election. But they're not being given the tools. They're not being given the education. And they have to wing it sometimes. And it's very frustrating for them. So we encourage people to get involved with what we do because you can go out for as little as 30 minutes. You can go out all day if you've got the time. You go where you ask to go, so you don't have to travel large miles. You can go just right down the street or wherever you want to go. And while you're there, you observe for us. We give you a phone number you can call, and that phone number will put you in touch with a hotline, and we take it from there. You're not the heavy. You're not trying to fix it. You're just letting us know. And we have some very, very good success because we've established relationships with the registrars. And so when we call them, quite often what got reported gets fixed very immediately. So it's an exciting to know that any one person can have a very big impact on the integrity of the election in their own community.
Right. And your nonprofit.
Yes.
And so because when I think of elections and all the money they're spending in the state of California, now they're going to be replacing machines in LA, and they're going to be, spending loads of money on things that, like you said, they're very simple solutions to a lot of the problems, the big problems that are maybe not as heavily weighted financially as they need to be. But we can be that part in the solution. Now, I did get one other question. I'm looking right here. I got one question about LA County specifically has areas where people don't go to a polling station. They only are mail-ins. Now, what part, if any, do you as an organization play in the Election Integrity Project with those types of ballots? Do you have any role after the ballots go in the mail and are received over in the registrars, or are you removed at that point?
No, we do. In fact, I'm really glad you asked that question because a whole lot of people have made a choice to vote by mail, and we have a really big education system going to try to convince people that if they have another choice, that's a very bad choice to make. But many people do make that choice, and as you mentioned, a lot of people are in areas where they're required to vote by mail,
right,
because the law indicates that if you have fewer than 250 people in your precinct who are registered, then that means that you have to be all vote by mail. As a matter of fact, the new law, the Voter Choice Act, which is very a misnomer, but the Voter Choice Act now for Los Angeles County alone has upped that number to 500, which forces more people onto the vote by mail list. Nevertheless, one of the things that we do, we have a special training. It's online. It's only an hour long, and we teach people what to look for, and then we ask them to go during the entire 60-day period of time that ballots are being cast and processed and counted, to go to the registrar's office and observe that process. So we have teams of people going to observe to see that they're matching signatures properly, that they're not allowing ballots through that shouldn't get through, that they are not throwing out ballots that ought to be accepted, that they're doing things properly. We observe the early vote. We observe all of that, and we train you how to do that.
So that is one segment of the training, is specifically for the mail-in ballots, or even just to observe at the voter registrar during the counting process.
Yeah, it's a separate training and it's online. Our other training is in person, but this one is online. All you have to do is let us know that you want to receive it. We communicate with you, and then you just watch it in the comfort of your own home. And then you're ready to go out and really take part in this citizen oversight that's so important.
Right, right. So now, how many... I was reading the amount of mail-in ballots that were sent in this cycle for the primary election, and the numbers were huge. I mean, yes, compared historically, the numbers are huge. It seems that more and more people are voting by mail, and people are concerned whether or not the registrars are receiving them. They're more concerned for the November election. Will the registrars receive them and count them? Will their vote count? But with this jump, with this rise of voters by mail, and with everything going on relating to the insecurity of the vote and people's perception, especially with what happened in LA, I mean, how many people do you see that you need to get involved to be able to, I mean, one person matters. One person can make major impact. We know that. But how many people, really are you in need of to be truly effective to cause actual change here in California?
Well, of course, the real dream would be to have one observer in every polling place in the state of California, right? And
right, and there are 58 counties,
right,
and there are a lot of polling places.
Impossible, I'm sure, but that's what we reach for. I don't even want to put a number on how many does it take to be effective. It depends on how effectively we deploy the people and how effectively that they report back to us. But, you mentioned something about vote by mail ballots, and I wanted to add to that. What I'm afraid of, besides the growing number of people voting by mail, which is very, very frightening because of the ability to all of those ballots to be manipulated behind closed doors, and also the fact that it really slows down the process of getting electoral results, because all the time it takes to process those ballots, and people are saying, how come they don't know who won yet? How come they don't know who won yet? Because it takes so long. And the more that continue to come in, and there's a finite time by which they have to process them, they're going to have to be more careless in the processing in order to meet that deadline. So this whole thing frightens me significantly. But what's more frightening is that at the polling places themselves, we have growing numbers, and they're growing extremely quickly, of people who are showing up on election day and saying, I'm supposed to vote by mail, but I never got my ballot. And so they're voting provisionally because they never received their ballots. So my concern is, we know those ballots were mailed out. Where did they go? Who's harvesting them? And what's happening? How are they getting processed? Because chances are, if you didn't get your ballot and you didn't think to report it lost until election day, someone harvested it, someone voted it, someone turned it in, and it's been counted, and so your provisional ballot will be thrown out. So what we ask voters to do, especially those who voted with an envelope ballot, is to go to the Secretary of State's website or to the website of their own registrar of voters, and they can find out whether their vote was counted in the election.
Right.
And if it was rejected, they will also give you a reason. So if I had gone and said I lost my vote by mail ballot or I never got it, and I cast a provisional ballot, and then I go on the website and it says I voted by mail, what does that tell me? It says someone harvested my ballot and that one was counted, my provisional was thrown out, and I lost my vote, which is another reason we ask you not to vote by mail, because if you don't vote by mail, you don't have a ballot to be harvested or stolen. So that's really frightening, because too many ballots are not reaching the proper destination of the voter.
Right, right. Well, I've been, I ran for U.S. Senate. I'm now in a position where I'm really, really focused on educating people. The process is so important, and understanding how everything works is so vital. And more I hear from people that they can't remember if they voted, by mail, or if they took themselves off. I thought I took myself off of that and they received a mail-in ballot. I've heard all these different stories about, particular person's situation. And now when I speak to people, I just suggest to them, go down to the voter registrar's office or contact them and double check. It doesn't hurt to just check. People are busy. They're busy working, paying bills. They're busy. Voting is this thing that many people do, just every couple of years, and they don't think much of it until they don't get their ballot or they're not on a voter roll, and it's making a big difference.
Yeah. Well, the article that we just sent out to our contact list yesterday reminded people that about this time prior to an election, every election, it's important to go to the website of your registrar's office, or now you can go to the Secretary of State's office and check your registration. How are you registered? Is it the way you want to be registered? Did you move and forget to update your address? Did you decide to change parties and forget to update that? Did you decide you don't want to vote by mail, but you're still a mail voter? Go to your website and make sure you know how you are registered. So if it's not the way that you want, you've got time to fix it before the election comes. And that way you cut down on voter error that you were talking about.
Right, and primarily, I live in an area where there are a lot of retirees and older people, and not everybody has the internet, and I found that even talking to people, that when they call the voter registrar's office or when they go there, they're very helpful.
Yes.
But, I think it's our responsibility, as our duty as citizens, to be an active participant and to make sure that we're doing things the right way as well, and also make sure the elections are secure by being a part of that process. So now, if you could, Ruth, explain to the people who are listening, if you're just joining us, this is Ruth Weiss. She's co-founder of the Election Integrity Project California. She's talking to us about the process here in California, how you can be a part of ensuring that the election integrity is there. But if I wanted to ask Ruth if she could for us just explain the different types of training you have, the levels of involvement that they require, and where people can sign up to get involved.
All right. Well, that's easy. Our primary training is the training for people who go out on election day and observe the polling places. And that also, those people can go out to the places that set up early voting, like Orange County, for example, set up early voting pop-up centers. And so our observation would be the same there. So during the month of October, we hold trainings in as many counties as we've got teams, and people, we put on our website, we put the training schedule. So if you don't have a contact within your own county, you go to our website and we have a neat little map there. You can click on your own county and you will get the schedule of when and where trainings are in your area. Then all you have to do is RSVP and show up. Those trainings have traditionally been 4 hours long because there's so much information that we try to give. But we are now trying to streamline them a little bit. So the ones for November will not be that long, but they will be just as thorough, and then once you have trained, you're good for the election season, and then the person involved with training you will help you to know where to go. They will get your information and your requests. Where would you like to go? What area would you like to stay in? Where would you like to observe? And then we will make sure that we coordinate that with you. You'll be given a hotline number to call when you're out there on election day, and that's all there is to it. You can go by yourself. You can request a partner. You can go for 30 minutes, or you can go for 13 hours. It's completely up to you. And then the second training that we have is the one that I mentioned before, the 1-hour online training that will give you the idea of what to look for, how to evaluate it, and what to do when you see something you're concerned about in watching the ballot processing. And so for that, you would contact us directly through our website and let us know that that's the training you're interested in. We will get back to you and connect you up with that. Okay,
so you've got various levels of involvement. So that website is electionintegrityproject.com, correct?
Yes, that's one way. It's even easier if you just go to eip-ca.com. That's a little easier to remember, maybe.
Yes.
Both will take you to the right place.
Yes, and I'm going to make sure we're going to go ahead and we're going to have this right down below so you can copy that information. And of course, I think you can just look up Ruth Weiss. She pops right up. Election integrity. She pops right up. Google is really great that way, and helping us get to you, Ruth. I tested it out today just to make sure. Now, the last question I do have to ask you is: people are concerned with, you're at the polling place, you have observers there. And then the ballots are put in a box. Then that box goes to a truck. And then the truck goes and travels. And it gets to the voter registrar's office. Do you have people that watch the process in between? Or is that a goal to make sure that everything is, streamlined from the polling place to the registrar?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do. Part of our training tells people that if they are observing in the end of the day, that they are watching the shutdown of the polls, they're watching the process of accounting for the ballots, making sure that nothing happens with them, because we are allowed to be in the polling place before it opens, after it closes, as observers. And then once they begin to transport those ballots, they take them to a place called a collection center, which is nearby. So we ask our people to follow the transportation of those ballots to the drop-off center, and then we ask them to watch the way in which they're being handled there. Are they being handled with a chain of custody sort of process? Are they being stored appropriately? Are they put in vehicles where the transportation they feel comfortable about? And some of our people have said, I don't like what this looks like, and they have actually followed the transport truck all the way to the registrar of voters. But we do certainly encourage that, and we train our people how to do that, and again, what to look for in those locations as well.
So then you just answered my other question, which I probably should have reversed it. I was thinking endgame based on a question that someone had asked to inquire of you. But the very beginning, you're there as well. You can be there with them, at the beginning of the process too. So you're really comprehensive in trying to ensure the integrity of the vote, most literally.
It's extremely important to start the day off right. If you have machines that aren't working, or there's supplies missing, or things are misarranged, then you start off the day wrong. So if we can get things fixed prior to 7 a.m., then we've already, done a great deal of good. So yes, we focus on getting out there before the polls open and making sure things are ready to go.
Through the process. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I have to tell you, I have to commend you for your work. You have a long road ahead of you with what you're doing. But, there are a lot of people who I know want to get involved. And I believe that elections do matter. Every vote counts, but that we have to be a part of the process. And I'm hoping that we can help get people involved. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, Republican, whatever, XYZ is behind your name. If you're a United States citizen, your vote needs to count. It matters. And the Election Integrity Project it's here to be a part of that process. And again, this is Ruth Weiss from the Election Integrity Project California, and her website is electionintegrityproject.com. Thank you so much, Ruth, for joining us.
Thank you, Erin. It's been a great pleasure.
Yes, and I'm hoping you'll come on again as it gets closer to November and help get more people motivated and signed up. And together, I know we'll make California golden again.
That was a pleasure. Thank you.
God bless you. You take care.
To hear more and to learn more on how you can make an impact or about the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's ERINCRUZ.com.